Believe it or not, this is year 48. In 1977, I became a Ford dealer. And have enjoyed it ever since. And I always tell everybody, in 1977, it was the first year the F-150 was the biggest selling vehicle on the map. Okay, they outsold everything else in the United States, and they're still doing it 45 years later, and it was all because of Bill Miller Ford Mercury. But it's truly a pleasure to welcome everybody here. We enjoy these events as much as you guys do. We have a great team that puts everything together, and thank you, Ford Motor Company, for being part of things. They are our biggest fans in the car business. Let me tell you, we work with all the manufacturers, and Ford Motor Company is the best one we work with. And not because I was just a Ford dealer. No, truthfully, they came on board. When I was a dealer, we used to beg everybody from Ford Motor Company, you gotta come see our Ford show, you gotta see what's going on. And finally, my sales representative from Ford Motor Company talked somebody from Ford into coming, and I can remember the day when all the expeditions pulled up and everybody got out of the trucks and they go, wow. They had no idea what happened here. It is the world's largest Ford show in the country, in the world, and we're very proud of that. So thank you all for being here. I know you're all part of this as well, and we certainly appreciate WITF and their troops that were here. They're going to speak further. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Bill, and thank you to Carlisle Events for supporting us today and for your hospitality. This is the first time we're at a car show, and we're very excited about that. I'm Ron Hetrick. I'm president and CEO of WITF, and on behalf of all of us, thank you so much for coming out today. We're really excited to have you and see very many familiar faces and some new ones. So I hope you enjoyed the program. We wouldn't be able to do this without the support of our sponsors, and in addition to Carlisle Events, I'd also like to thank TechLink South Central PA for their support today. And to speak a little bit about TechLink, Lisa will say a few words.
Hi, I'm Lisa DiLorenzo. I work at Harrisburg Area Community College, and we manage the TechLink Consortium. We're a number of career and tech centers in the region that we work with students in the high schools and help to provide an education to career pathway, and we'll have some Lebanon County CTC students coming here to join us. So really enjoy working with WITF. I think this is an awesome connection, and we were excited that they asked us to sponsor the event. Thank you.
Hi everybody, I'm Scott LaMar, and I'll be hosting the program today. And I look over my clock and I have 90 seconds before we go on air. So radio doesn't work, or doesn't wait, I should say. It makes us go on when we have to. But thank you for coming out. I gotta say that we always enjoy doing these live broadcasts. This is the first one we've ever had where we have engines revving in the background, and I can look over my shoulder and see classic Mustangs, Grand Torinos, F-150s, and so many of the. I just saw a '67 Falcon, I think, out here that was all souped up. So thank you very much for coming out. And what we're going to do is half hour of the show live on the air. After that, we're going to have an opportunity for you to step up. We'll continue our conversation. Step up to the microphone and ask questions. Okay? Thank you.
Here we go.
Welcome to Smart Talk. I'm Scott LaMar. Today's program is very special. We're on a Smart Talk road trip to the Carlisle Ford Nationals Car Show at the Carlisle Fairgrounds. Today we'll be discussing cars, trucks, electric vehicles, what goes into designing them. We'll focus on one of the world's iconic brands, Ford. We'll also get a preview of other Ford manufacturers. Joining us today, in the first segment of today's program, is Emeline King. She is the SN95 Mustang interior designer, the first black woman transportation designer for Ford Motor Company, and author of the new book, What Do You Mean a Black Girl Can't Design Cars? We'll talk with Emeline King in just a moment. Bill Miller Jr. is the co-owner of Carlisle Events, and John Clor is Ford Performance Enthusiast Communication Manager. I want to thank all three of you for coming to the program. Now, we're going to be jumping around a little bit in our conversation this morning because there's so much going on that I know you have other obligations, including Emeline King. You have another speaking engagement for a few minutes So I'm going to start with you. What do you mean a black girl can't design a car? Tell us about that.
All right. First, thank you for this opportunity and good morning to everyone who is out there. I will start, my biggest mentor was my father. And I was born at the age of 11, and my father would take me around to a lot of car events. And it started out where I would play around with clay. And so every year my father would take me to the Ford Motor Company Christmas party, which was held at the Design Center. And there I got a chance to see vehicles and meet some of his co-workers. And on one particular event, my father took me to this special area. And as we were walking down the hall, I saw these blue doors. And as I got close to the door, it smelled clean. And I was like, Dad, you gotta get me behind this door. I want to know what's behind that smell clean. So he told me, said, Emeline, behind this blue door are men who design cars. They are called transportation designers. And if you want to get behind this door, you have to become a transportation designer and you have to become an employee here at Ford Motor Company. Well, that just was the icing on the cake. And even though I was 11, I promised myself 3 things. 1, I was going to become a transportation designer. 2, I was going to work there at Ford Motor Company. And 3, design cars there with my father. So during school, a lot of times when we have events and my instructors would say, well, Emeline, what is it that you want to become? I said, I'm going to be a car designer. And a lot of the male teachers would say, oh no, girls can't design cars. There's 3 things that you can become, Emeline. You can either become a good librarian, take those hands, become a good cook, or a good wife. But as far as designing cars, that's not going to happen. But little did they know that my father was behind the scene teaching me about the world of cars. So I went to a lot of prominent schools that taught transportation design, and I graduated. And it took me like a while to get into Ford Motor Company because during the time they were not hiring. But I had promised the president, who was Mr. Jack Talnett, that I wanted to work here. And he said, well, Emeline, go to Art Center. And if you go to Art Center and graduate from there, you probably could run Ford Motor Company. Well, I kept him to that promise. And I said, I would like to be interviewed by you. And other companies were coming out there to interview me, but I decided, no, I made a promise to Mr. Jack Talnett, and that's where I wanted to go. So my father flew me back. I got interviewed by Mr. Talnett, and I was hired in. So my dream was coming to fruition. And the beautiful thing about it was I was able to design cars. Now, it so happened that later on, I did foreign service in Germany, Italy, and England designing cars. But later on in my career, I had always wanted to become a part of management. But for some reason, it didn't happen. So I was very fortunate. I talked with one of the executives. I said, well, what is it that I need to do? I traveled, I designed other cars, and he told me, you need to get on a hot project. So one morning, we had our staff meeting, and my supervisor, Bud McGaldy, who was responsible for the exterior of the car, he had told me, we're going to have a hot project. So I said, hot project? I need to meet with him and let him know I would love to be on this program. The Mustang, it's SN94. But I had something very special, and I said, okay. I'm the only female car designer or black designer there at Ford. I said, and the Mustang is such an iconic vehicle, and I just developed a love for this vehicle. And so I mentioned to Bud that I would like to be on this program. Number one, I'm coming from a female viewpoint. And I said, we as female, we love cars. I said, but I'm going to accessorize it. I said, you know how you have a suit and it's set off with the tie or the nice shirt and suit. I said, the same way with females. When we get into our outfits, we love our hats, we love our shoes, we love our purses. So I said, I would just add a feminine touch to this masculine thing. And I said, by doing this, this project would just be the icing on the cake. And so I was able to connect and do a design for the interior. And a lot of time my executive had mentioned, in order to move up, management needs to see a project with your name. Well, after I finished designing the Ford Mustang, when they would say interior, Emeline King name popped up.
First of all, the thing about that story was it started with just clay. I mean, there aren't many dreams to start off with clay.
Yes.
But what accessories did you add to the Mustang?
Oh yes, ladies, we know when we enter into the seat, the feel of the seat. Also, we have it so that if you touch the knobs, you don't have to worry about breaking a fingernail. When we sit down, we don't have to worry about splitting a skirt. When we put that pedal to the metal, we don't have to worry about those high heels or those stilettos getting caught in there. So it's just the ambience, and then you have that cockpit of feeling of it. So, and also I believe, like some of my background training when I did foreign service in Italy, we know how luxurious that leather is and design is. So all of those things I incorporated. And the main thing, you know, when you think about a horse or a Mustang, a beautiful stallion, a thoroughbred that is racing, and you just see that in the Mustang. So I developed that Mustang. Oh, it's just in my blood.
Well, that's going to be a tough act to follow. By the way, today's Smart Talk Road Trip, remote live broadcast from the Carlisle Ford Nationals Car Show, supported by Carlisle Events and TechLink South Central Pennsylvania Consortium for Career and Technical Education. I want to bring in John Clor, who's a Ford Performance Enthusiast Communications Manager. Now, John, the word enthusiast is in your title. How did you top that?
Well, I can tell you this. I met Emeline at the 1994 Mustang launch when I was a journalist. I was writing for Auto Week magazine. And of course, being a secret closet Ford guy, I would volunteer for the Ford launches. And when I went to the launch and saw the new Mustang, they would have a ride along with the designers. And when I saw this Emeline, I said, well, what did you do? She said, I did this interior. If you know a 94 Mustang, the S95 has got this beautiful double cockpit, just gorgeous. Then I found out she went to Wayne State University, which is my school in Detroit, and we hit it off. The next year, I started at Ford Motor Company in 1995 with a special vehicle team, and I lost track of Emeline, but special vehicle team meant a car that was built by a niche group within Ford Enthusiast, and doing that I was looking at a Buff Book magazine that was a perfect fit. 10 years there, when that was disbanded, I went up to Ford Racing for 10 years, again an Enthusiast, and now at Ford Performance to meet up with Emeline and to be here at the Carlisle Ford Nationals is just, it's been a dream job. And I will tell you, what other company has an enthusiast communications manager? You got to have a lot of enthusiasts to communicate with them.
Yeah, when you have that in your title, it kind of says there's no time, you can't take time off.
No, they don't stop. I get phone calls all through the weekends. The cool thing about having this job is at Ford Motor Company, we're just turning 119 years old this week. And at 119 years of innovation, we didn't just change the way we live, put the world on wheels with the Model T, and then we got Americans loving power and mobility with the Model A, and then all through the 50s, think of the iconic, beautiful, we didn't just design cars, we designed pieces of art, which you'll see out here in the fairgrounds today. And then in the 60s with the muscle car and the Mustang, and in the 70s to refit all of the automotive world into a world that we needed to make fuel economy, and the 80s to do engineering, and then again to be born in the 90s. I mean, this company is so special because it's run by a family. I mean, to have me do this job for Enthusiast, when you don't have heritage, then what you want, if you're a company with no heritage, then you wind up having to hire hamsters.
So when you look out over this field behind us, we're probably closest. I see Torenos behind us. There are Mustangs over here to our right. I mean, as far as you can see, you see classic Fords. For someone who has worked for Ford, as you said, a car guy, what do you see when you look out there?
It's nirvana out here, and I can tell you this. This isn't just about Mustang, even though that's our market superstar right now. It's about all these glorious brands that we've had. Bronco is back in a bigger way than ever. The Thunderbird Club is still one of the most active clubs around, and Emeline and I will go to their dinner tonight. This following that Ford has, it isn't just fandom. When you can have all these years of every Ford vehicle has a fan club. And we've launched almost 850 Ford vehicle clubs, and in our Club Connect program, we have almost 450 registered with Ford. These people, when you buy a Ford, you're not just buying a car, a personal piece of transportation, an appliance. You're buying a lifestyle, and Carlisle proves it.
You talk about innovation. One of the things that we'll be discussing today, electric vehicles. I have to admit that I was a little bit skeptical a few years ago, but when I heard there was going to be an EV Mustang, but especially an EV F-150, tell us, that's innovation. What we're hearing in the background right now, you probably won't hear with an EV.
No, it's a much different sound for sure, but the key here is that as this transformation takes place, Ford has the unique position of being a car company that knows how to build things and has been building it for years. We changed the world, and we won World War II with the arsenal of democracy. We built the middle class with the living wage. We're more than a car company. So when the world needs new innovation, ideas will come from Silicon Valley, but if they're going to be built and sold in numbers, they're going to come out of Detroit. No, it's going to be Greenville, because that's where the heart of this car passion comes from. And I'm so proud of F-150 being the best-selling vehicle in America now, having an EV that's really, I love all the competitors in the EV space, but F-150 is speaking its own language.
I do have to bring up, though, because, as I said, a few years ago, I was kind of skeptical that this would happen. There still are some people who are skeptical because they talk about how long it takes to charge a vehicle. A guy who has grown up buying F-150, driving F-150s, when they have to plug that F-150 in, is that something that is progressing as far as how long it takes to charge, how they charge it, the distance they can get?
Well, here's a funny fact. When Henry Ford was first building his first automobile in Dearborn, his wife actually drove an electric car up Woodward Avenue. I think it was called the Detroit Electric in 1910. The two things they worried about back then was how long it took the battery to recharge and the range of the vehicle. So
nothing's changed.
But the technology is to the point now where we can go 300-400 miles, so we can get recharged overnight. And the innovation doesn't stop with EVs. We may find that when we go down the EV road, a breakthrough like solid-state batteries. It's really a battery vehicle. It's not really an electric vehicle. It's a battery. And then when this technology is going to be reborn, it'll be the engineers, the gearheads, the kind of guys that made these wonderful noises with petrol-powered cars that are going to make those breakthroughs. So we're, like I said, we're not a pet rock. We're not a come and go innovation. 119 years proves that. If you can stick around that long, we're going to be around here when the next innovation comes. And if it's EV taking us into hydrogen, whatever it's going to be, I can tell you this: Ford's going to do it, and we're going to be a Carlisle.
Well, speaking of which, and let's bring one of the pioneers in here. Bill Miller Jr. is the co-owner of Carlisle Events, and they're going to have Mr. Miller on the program throughout. After we're off the air, we're going to continue our conversation, and you can hear that on our website a little bit later. But Bill Miller Jr., you've been sitting, listening patiently to Emeline and John. You brought all this here, and one thing I heard you say before we even started today about the F-150 being the biggest selling vehicle in America. For how many years now? 45?
45 years.
You started when the F-150 was started being the biggest selling vehicle. Talk about first of all, how Carlisle Events started, because it started as just you and a friend as car guys, right?
Car guy, for sure.
Yeah.
It all started in basically 1973. We had a 1954 Corvette at a car show locally, which was the biggest car show in the country at the time. It was in Hershey. And my partner really was into Corvettes. He just loved Corvettes. And there was a car club just starting, the Milestone Car Society. And the Milestone Car Society was a friend of mine that started the club. And he said, do you know anybody that's got a really neat car that we could put in our booth that would attract people into our booth to become members? Well, my partner Chip had a 1954 Corvette. And I gave him a call, and he said, oh, sure, we'll put it there. I want to sell it anyway. So we took the Corvette to the show, parked it in the booth, and in those days, no cell phones, no communication. So he put his business card backwards on the windshield, and it said, we'll be back every hour on the hour, $5,400. And
Okay, wait. 5,400 hours for the 54 Corvette. What year was this?
1973.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
So, they're worth a little more money.
Oh,
Yeah, that was
But at
fun.
that time, it was really a good bit of money for the car. So the car was basically 20 years old at the time. So the very first hour, we're back, and the business card's gone. And he finds out the business card's laying on the floor. So he thought, oh, somebody wants to buy my car, and they put the card on the floor, making sure that nobody else was there to see that it was for sale. So we were sitting there, and a few minutes later, somebody pulls up in a golf cart and said, whose car's that? And Chip said, oh, it's mine. Well, he thought, here's my customer, I'm all happy. And it turned out that this was an official at the event, and he said, you can't sell that car here. Well, why not? Well, that's a used car. Oh, gee. We're, early 20s, and we're thinking, 1954, 20 years old, that's an old car, right? Well, if you look back now, this is 2022, so a 20-year-old car isn't that old a car anymore, But they said, you're going to have to take that car out of here. You're not allowed to have it here. At that time, an antique car was considered 35 years old or older. So at that point, they were featuring the 1939 cars, and the 1939 cars were long before I was born, and we really didn't relate to them. We really related to the cars in the 50s and the 60s. So we were wandering around the flea market after having taken the car out and put it in a parking lot somewhere, and Chip said, isn't it a shame we can't take a car to a car show that we really enjoy? I said, well, maybe we want to start our own car show. So we each put up $500, and we drew up a little contract that became a partnership, and we looked for a place to rent to do our car shows. And ironically, this, as my old boss used to say, better dumb luck than good management. He said, we rented the Carlisle Fairgrounds because it was the least expensive place we could rent.
Bill, we're continuing the story in just a moment. I have to take a break, okay? You're listening to Smart Talk on WITF, your home for NPR News and all things regional. I'm Scott LaMar.
Did you have the $1.75 chicken at the first show?
Absolutely, and that was the full dinner.
Yeah? Potato and roll and drink.
Absolutely. My mom was the one that helped the chicken man put out chicken.
Now that was just the fall show, right?
That was the fall show.
Yeah, when did you start spring?
September 29th of 1974.
74. We're getting up here.